Started with the workshop, and before we get started, just want to let everybody know that Dr. White is joining us via telephone today, and I just want to check in to see if Dr. White, can you hear me?
Yes, Mr. Bryant, I answered earlier, but you might not have been able to hear me.
Okay, and we're glad that you're on the phone with us. So, board members, I've talked to Mr. Chambers this morning, and we're going to go down to section 15.2. We're going to start the meeting off with board members' announcements and requests for, or 15.1, I'm sorry, and that is the FSBA 2021 through 2022 Master Board Program. And I believe we have Tina on the phone, Tina Pinkinson. Are you on the phone, or is it April Griffin?
It's April Griffin. Good morning.
Good morning, April. How you doing?
I am doing fabulous. How are y'all? I'm watching your meeting also on the YouTube, so
Good.
y'all better behave right now.
Well, just so board members, you don't know, April Griffin is part of the Florida School Board Association and a former member of the Alachua County School Board. So we are very honored to have her in place of Tina. So at the request of Ms. Vanchek, this was put on the agenda. So I'm going to open it up to questions. Ms. Vanchek, I'll start with you if you have any questions.
Good morning, April. Thank you so much for being with us this morning. My
You're
question
welcome.
about this program is just to clarify, first of all, what the commitment when we decide whether or not we want to do this. Is it my understanding that we just have to have a majority of the board members participate, or could you please clarify that?
Correct. The majority of the board and the superintendent have to participate in the program. And just quickly, it's a 1 8-hour forum and then 3 4-hour on-site. And we come to you. It's totally up to your schedule when you want to do it. And the times and dates and all that is set through you.
Okay, and then I was looking on the agreement, and there's a part about the regional forum that talks about 2 districts participating. Has that been amended under the current situation with COVID?
Yes, ma'am. We have been last session, we have a new curriculum every 2 years. We follow the election cycle, and for the past 2 years, we've been going 2 districts. We have not been combining, especially this year. We will come to you. It would be set up in your boardroom, kind of like what you're doing today, very 6 feet apart, COVID regulations in place, so that we want to keep everybody safe.
Okay, and so I would think that we would get an amended agreement or something to that effect put in writing?
Yes, ma'am. I think that the new did Tina send y'all the agreement?
We have a copy of the
Or
agreement.
did you find it on, did you look online or did she send it to you?
She did send it to us.
Okay, well, I will jot that down and ask if the agreement will state that y'all are going to be doing it yourself
Okay.
instead of with another county.
Okay, all right, I just
Is that
want
what
to make
you
sure that's
asked?
clear. Yeah, okay. All right, so
Okay.
I know that there's an individual board member certification, but if we do it as a group, then are we also individually certified?
No, ma'am. This is for the whole board and the superintendent. It's the master board. We also have a certified board member program, but they're totally separate. It's
Okay.
different training.
Yeah.
This is leadership development for the team, the governance team. The certified board member is to help you as a board member individually.
Okay, thank
So
you.
it's 2 different programs.
Okay, and one more question. I know you probably have a lot of reasons why this is a great program, but can you kind of just give a real quick kind of a
overview
overview, or what, just, what's the best thing about having this? Why would a board necessarily want to attain this?
Okay, you have professional development for your teachers and your staff. This is leadership professional development for the board and the superintendent. And we talk about building trust amongst yourself and in your community with your constituents. We know it's proven that school boards and superintendents that work together as a team impacts student achievement and the district culture in positive ways. So we want to help y'all learn how to work together to the best of your abilities. We talk about communication. We talk about, like I said, trust. We talk about respect. And this also gives the school board an opportunity to talk about issues and things that you might not be able to talk about from the dais during the school board meeting. So we notice these meetings, so, if public can come if they want to the training. We usually don't have many from the community come to the training, and it just gives you a good opportunity to talk about things. We talk about strategic planning. This module is, we talk about the trust edge. We've used that book, and effective governance. So did that help answer your question?
Yes, thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Ms. Gardner, any questions?
Hi, this is Marty Gardner, and I'm a new school board member, so I apologize up front for any question that may not make sense, but, oh, sorry. They're pointing to my microphone. Would you please repeat what you just said about community attending the training? I may have misheard that.
I couldn't, you were breaking up. I couldn't understand what you just said.
And I may have misunderstood, but can you repeat what you said about community attending the training? Did I hear that correct?
The training, since it's the whole board and the superintendent meeting together, you notice them, just like you do for your meeting. And so if any of the public wanted to come, they could come. Typically, the public does not come to these meetings, to the training.
Okay, and I think you pretty well explained, I was wondering, like that 8-hour day I've done professional development for and planned, but I think you pretty well did explain about during that 8-hour day what would be involved. So basically, go ahead.
You mean what the schedule would look like?
I guess, yes.
Well, we start whenever y'all want, 9, 10 o'clock, and then we would go until lunch. We have lunch. FSBA usually provides the lunch for you, and then we finish up around 4 o'clock.
And you have different Sorry, go ahead.
No, what was your question?
No, I was going to say, and you have different modules that we participate in during the day?
Yes, ma'am. It's a full day of professional development, and we can send you the agenda ahead of time.
That would be
if you'd
wonderful.
like.
Thank you.
Okay.
Any other questions, Ms. Gardner?
That's
Okay, thank you. Dr. Kelly?
I apologize for asking you this, Mr. Chambers. I had intended to ask you prior to the meeting. Are you able to clear up 8 hours of your day and then 4 hours on 4 more days to participate?
We would figure out how to do so.
Okay. So, and my next question to April will probably help you. So, April, then, as I understand it, a majority of the board members must attend a majority of the sessions for us all to complete and receive the certification. Will there be an online component available in the oddity that maybe one of us might have to miss one session so that that could be made up so that the whole board
Yes.
wouldn't be punished for one person
Agree.
missing one session? Or in case of the superintendent and a crisis occur and he have to be called to a school or something?
We do not offer, we don't tape these sessions and offer online. Face-to-face is really the best way to complete these, the sessions.
Is there a way to make it
You
up
know, in the odd chance.
face to
sorry?
face? Could we make those up face to face then in a separate appointment?
No, that's, you have to work together as a team. We have had, I mean, if you miss one, you're still completing, I mean, you won't penalize your board by having to miss
Okay.
one session. We have it built in there. I can't remember, I think it's, let's see, requirements. I'm looking online right now
Okay.
because I don't really,
I just saw the word
Um,
majority was all I saw, so.
oh, yeah, a majority of the time, so if you missed one, you would still be on the, included in the master board.
Okay.
We have some school boards where everyone chooses not to participate, but the majority of the board, and then when you get your plaque, that person's name just isn't on the plaque. We don't encourage that. That's not the best for your district, but we would work with you.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions?
That's it.
Dr. White, do you have any questions for Ms. Griffin?
Well, just a couple, and I think they're sort of mundane, but I noticed on the FSBA website that there are some districts, I guess there look like there are about 7, that are designated as award recipients in this program. Could you tell us about that?
Yes, sir. The program, the reason we change the curriculum every 2 years is because to retain your master board status, a majority, if you lose one board member, you can do a reinstatement. If you lose more than one due to election, then you have to start the process over again. So the ones that you see that are listed did not have a change in their board in the last election cycle. We had a
Okay, so
total
they
of, I think there was a total of 29, but after the election, only 7 remained whole.
Okay, well, that's helpful. So out of all the school districts in Florida, I guess there were 29 that participated in this program. And because of changes then, if I understood you correctly, there are only 7 remaining. Is that right?
Correct. Most of the
Okay.
ones that lost their master board status are doing the program again.
All right. And one of the concerns that I have is naturally, and I'm sure that you hear this from all school boards, is the cost of this particular program. What would you talk about that cost just for a moment?
We charge $4,500 for the whole thing, which is you're getting our expertise. Every one of the consultants has been or is a current school board member. I was also president of the Florida School Boards Association during my time on the school board. So you're getting a lot of expertise. 20 hours of total training. We come to you, so that cost is included for our travel and, spending the night. I think all of us live far enough away that we would have to come and spend the night in a hotel before the training. So that's all included in that $4,500. Also, the lunch for the full day, the 8 hours, is included in that fee.
All right. And I had another question, and it goes to, I know Mrs. Ivanchek is the one that brought this up, but I was curious about when you talked about the individual board member certification. Could you talk about that just for a moment and also give the cost of that program?
Okay, the certified board member program is, and I'm looking, I have to get all of the facts right, requires
I understand.
some set curriculum. 10 hours of finance, 7 hours of policy governance, and 7 hours of bargaining issues. Those are forums that the school board members attend. So the cost is the attendance for those forums. The school finance forum is coming up next week. I don't know if any of your board members are going or not, but that's Thursday all day and half a day on Friday. So you get the 10 hours of that. And then the other trainings, 24 hours of advocacy, 24 hours in leadership, and 24 hours of knowledge can be done at our conferences, all of the breakouts. We put on there what part of the training it counts as. So your
Okay.
attendance at the conference would pay for those.
I see. So there is no fee, as in the case of the master board certification. An individual board member can choose to attend those sessions and become certified for themselves that way. Is that right?
Correct. Through the conferences, through attending the forums, and also reading a book, attending. There's some things that you do in your county that they can attend to get the hours.
I see. All right. Well, those are the questions I had. You were very helpful, and thanks for calling me.
Sure. I think that you will get a lot of benefit if you decide to do the master board program. The boards and the superintendents that we work with have almost unanimously said that the training helps in their organization and helps them to work more efficiently and effectively. So I hope that we will be working together in the future.
Thank you.
So April, I have just a couple of questions, but I'm going to comment real quick to Dr. White's about the individual certified board members. And, you know, over the years that I've been on the board, when I go to these conferences, you know, you acknowledge which ones you go to, and then you have to go online and let them know that you've attended these. So you're building up points over the time that you go to these conferences. And you know, the tricky part is to remember to go in there and put it in there, because there's just so, you know, there's so much going on at these conferences. But that's how, you know, individuals can do it, by attending these forums, like when we just had the big one back in November. We were able to get credit for a lot of the breakout sessions that we had. You went in and told them which ones you attended, and you get points for that. But April, I believe that we would have a year, if I'm not mistaken, we would have a year to do this program, correct?
Oh, correct. We would want you to finish it before the next election.
Okay.
Because that's when the cycle would start over again.
Okay.
Most boards spread it out over a year.
Okay. So with that being said there, we actually will make our own schedule out for that. So, and with the
Correct.
election being.
You are the ones who set the dates and times.
Right.
And we try to work with you as much as we can to make sure that we don't change things. You know,
Right.
issues come up, and you might have to re-plot it, but we'll work with you on that.
Okay. And this being an off-cycle election year for us on the school board, I mean, we technically have until, you know, the end of the year that we can get this done. So, because none of us are up for re-election this go-round, at least this year, there's nothing on there, but next year would be a little different. Okay. I'm satisfied with the questions. If there's any other questions that might have come up. All right. Well, April, we truly appreciate you taking time out of your schedule to answer the questions. And I will just say on my behalf that I know when I first got on the board, you were very helpful in reaching out to all of us that were new on the board. And I've always appreciated the fact that you're there when we need you. And when you got on with the FSBA, I thought that was a great hire for them, because you've been in the trenches, you know what it's like. So I appreciated your mentorship and your friendship.
Well, I appreciate you saying that. Thank you very much. And again, I hope that we work together in the future. I think that you would find, y'all as a board, the governance team will find a lot of benefit in the program.
All right. Well, thank you, April. You have a great morning, and we'll hopefully be in touch.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. So before we move on, Mr. McInnes, this would have to be voted on by the board.
Yes, sir.
And that could come up on Monday night if we choose to.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Would we not have to move it to discussion or something to do that? Because now it's just listed as board members' announcements, requests.
Well, I think we could
You
just,
could, you could today determine that you're going to move it to the
Yeah.
discussion
Right.
agenda if you want to do that.
right.
And then that way it'd be actually on the agenda.
All right. Well,
So can we go ahead and take an action on that?
yeah.
Okay, then I'd like to make a motion that we
Well,
move,
Well, we can't make a motion in a workshop, but the chairman.
can
Oh.
move it.
By
Okay,
consensus
excuse
of the
me.
board, he can simply
Okay,
move that on the
Right.
agenda today,
Okay.
so it's there for Monday night.
I'm sorry.
Okay. Well, I'll
Okay.
go down the line, Ms. Gardner.
Well, don't do
don't-
any kind of voting here.
Oh, no, just for me to put it on there? I don't have to ask them?
No, you, as the
Okay.
chairman, you can rearrange the agenda if you
Okay.
need to.
All right, good.
Well,
We're good.
we'll do that then. We'll move it to
To discussion.
discussion there.
Discussion.
Okay.
Yes, thank you.
All right, well, thank you. All right, so now we'll just go back up to the top of the agenda, and we're at section 2.1, changes to the agenda and approval of the agenda. And section 3.1, recognition of, excuse me there, of Colonel Danielle Mastroberti. I hope I'm saying that correctly, representing the Consulate General of Italy in Miami in appreciation of the renewal of the partnership and funding for the Italian program in the Okaloosa County School District through 2023. Mr. Chambers, did you want to?
The only thing I would say is, as you know, we have a very good Italian program going from Blue Water to Ruckle to Niceville, and this is a renewal that's continuing our partnership going forward, and we appreciate that partnership and especially the opportunity that our students have to learn Italian.
And when you said at the agenda meeting the other day that we actually have it at Blue Water, so we're starting them off in the 5th grade there and getting them, acclimated to when they get to high school.
We've had that program how long now?
About 4 years or so,
Yeah.
3 or 4 years.
Okay, so we're renewing this for a certain length of time, or how long is that? I didn't
Looks like
see
it
it.
goes
Through
through the
2023.
2023.
Oh, I'm sorry,
school
I
year.
apologize, I didn't see that, yeah, through 23. So we're doing it about every 4 years then, it looks
And
like.
if you haven't seen them in action, it's really phenomenal. I watched them at Blue Water.
Oh, really, the
Women
younger one?
does a great job.
I need to check that out.
All right.
I probably should sign up for it since my son-in-law and his parents are Italian.
Yeah.
That'd be a good thing.
Well, it's interesting because we have an Italian program. We also have a Mandarin program too that we have
Yeah.
that we teach, and that's pretty awesome. Not too many school districts can say they have both of those. So.
Right. Mhm.
All right, so we'll move past visitors, administrative personnel appointments, public comment. Section 7 will be today only, so we'll start with 7.1, Florida Education Finance Program, FEFP, full-time equivalent, students in student transportation audit for fiscal year ended June 30th, 2019, report number 2021 through -091, January 2021. And we'll move down to 7.2, in-county travel, 7.3, out-of-county travel, 7.4, quarterly report, short-term facility use contracts and lease agreements under the $5,000 threshold, and 7.5, quarterly report, service agreements under the $5,000 threshold for internal and budgetary funds. And then we'll move down to consent agenda. 8.1 will be the approval of the consent agenda. 8.2, approval of the minutes of the student disciplinary hearing of January 21st, 2021, minutes of the workshop meeting of January 21st, 2021, and minutes of regular meeting of January 25th, 2021. 8.3, appropriation of District 1 School Board member capital outlay funds to Lewis School for Assistant Principal's Office flooring in the amount of $2,368.20, presented by Dr. Lamar White. 8.4, appropriation of District 2 School Board member capital outlay funds to Lewis School for principal's office flooring in the amount of $2,097.75, presented by Ms. Marnie Gardner. And 8.5, appropriation of District 3 School Board member capital outlay funds to Lewis School for guidance counselor's office flooring in the amount of $2,157.28, presented by Ms. Linda Vancheck. And 8.6, appropriation of District 3 School Board member capital outlay funds to Baker School for track and field high jump pad in the amount of $1,937.25, presented by Ms. Linda Vancheck. 8.7, appropriation of District 4 School Board member capital outlay funds to Baker School for track and field high jump pad in the amount of $1,937.25, presented by myself. And 8.8, appropriation of District 4 School Board capital outlay funds to Lewis School for clinic flooring in the amount of $1,491.40, presented by myself. And I think that's going to take care of Lewis School and all of their carpeting and all that.
Yeah.
So,
It looks really nice, though.
but the one thing that is truly important to notice here is that we all came together, all 5 of us come together and help Lewis School out. And I will just tell you, I agree with Dr. Kelly. If you go in there now, it's a totally different feel to that school, and it was much needed. So,
And that's the same with the expenditure for Baker. I just want what you're saying, the public should see that we all work together. Even though we have designated schools, we try to do what we can to help every school as much as we can.
all right, so now we'll move down to 8.9, appropriation of District 5 School Board member capital outlay funds to Plough Elementary School for projectors in the amount of $766, presented by Dr. Diane Kelly. And 8.10, school donations. And if you notice, we are still getting people from the public to donate to our schools, and we are so very much appreciative of that. 8.11, invoices to be approved for payment. 8.12, authorization to appropriate federal impact aid funds and make a payment in the amount of $52,059 to charter schools. 8.13, Finance Department transition staff reorganization. 8.14, ITB 21-07, purchase and installation of flooring at Okaloosa Technical College and the use of fiscal year 2020 through 2021 capital outlay project contingency funds to temporarily fund the project. 8.15, service agreement number 21-67, Morgan Molina. And 8.16, sale and disposal of surplus property. Section 9, Student Human Resources Recommendations. The first 2 on Monday night will be information only. So 9.1 is employees on administrative leave, and 9.2, Deferred Retirement Option Program, the drop. 9.3, out-of-field report for the 2020 through 2021 school year. 9.4, employment separations. 9.5, personnel recommendations. 9.6, employee transfers. 9.7, employee suspension. 9.8, employee suspension. 9.9, employee termination. 9.10, reinstatement, reimbursement of sick leave due to line of duty illness, injury, medical examination. And 9.11, leave without pay, presented by Dr. Lee Hale. And then we'll move down to section 10, discussion agenda, which we've already decided we're going to move 15.1 for discussion. 11, construction programs owners representatives business, 11.1. Dr. Kelly?
We meet Monday, and I'm excited to say that after Monday, I should have some exciting information to share.
Oh, awesome. Always look
Thank
forward
you.
to the
I do too.
construction reports.
I
so.
know, it's all good.
All right, so nothing on section 12, information technology seat management contract. And Mr. McGinnis, we're to you, sir.
No update today.
Okay, thank you, sir. And Mr. Chambers, I'll turn it over to you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Wanted to start with doing a COVID update. And I think each of you know, each week we're putting out information on the website, also putting out information to all OCSD. So employees, so families know exactly where we are with COVID. I do want to just give you just a little bit of information from those sheets. Right now, we are at about 2.9% 100% of our students who have tested positive. I think we'd all love to have 0% of our students testing positive, but we're at 2.9%, which means 97.1% of our students have been COVID-free this year. Approximately 90% of our staff have been COVID-free this year. And it's also interesting to note, I think just in Okaloosa County as a whole, we're at about 8.2% of the citizens have had COVID. Coming on down, we're also kind of breaking it down weekly as well, so we can get a snapshot, because everything I just talked about is more cumulative from the beginning of September to where we are today. But looking at it weekly, ending for the week of January 23rd, we have about 44.7% of our schools who had 0 students test positive, and about a third of our schools had 0 students and staff combined test positive. And we do know that we continue to take the preventative measures in our schools, so that is still active. So do appreciate the work of what is occurring within the schools. I wanted to shift over to the new quarantining guidelines that have started. As you know, 2 things have adjusted within quarantine. So first of all, if a students have the ability to come back starting on day 11 now. And we worked with Dr. Chapman last week, because this is something that's come down from the CDC, then from the state local health departments to the local health department. So this is not something that the school district has initiated, but this is something that happens across the state, where students now have the opportunity to come back on day 11. So we are falling under these new guidelines, working hand in hand with the Department of Health here locally. So now students will have the ability to come back starting on day 11. Everything is initiated from the health department. So the health department notifies us. And the students, in order to come back, there are 4 things that must happen. First of all, they must wear a mask if they're to come back on day 11 or 12, any day before day 14. So they must wear a mask. 2, they must maintain social distancing. And we've talked with Dr. Chapman specifically about that and understanding the dynamics of a school setting. So we are working with our schools to make every effort to social distance. 3, avoid large crowds. And you know what our schools look like. But also, we're looking at the cumulative of 15 minutes. So for example, the bell rings, you know there's large crowds in the hallways. But as we've talked to the health department, that's, you might bypass a kid in 2 seconds or 3 seconds. So we've talked about all of those different scenarios. So the 4th piece being the student and the families have to monitor the symptoms. And if a student became symptomatic, then that student would have to go home until day 14. And then, of course, if they were symptomatic, there's also pieces that go into place in terms of if you have symptoms. And, of course, if they get tested and they were positive, then they would be out for the 10 days as well. So the new guidelines allows a student to come back starting on day 11. Also, within the new guidelines, as you know, if a student tests negative, it was day 6. Now it's day 5. So if a student tests negative day 5 or later, they would have the ability to come back. So hypothetically, a student could test on day 5. If the results came back on day 7 or day 8, they could come back. But if they were to come back, they also have to follow those 4 measures that I just shared: mask, social distancing, avoid large crowds, as well as monitoring for symptoms. This is meant to be a back-to-school/work guideline. It does extend into extracurricular and sports, and the way that it's written is if you're able to maintain social distancing, then you are able to also take part in those after-school activities, whether it be extracurricular or athletics. Ms. Lightbourne is monitoring that as well. So for example, if it was basketball, soccer right now, they would not be able to maintain social distancing, so they would not be able to come back. But a sport like tennis, they would have the opportunity to to come back. An after-school club where social distancing was occurring. Of course, they would have to still have the mask, the social distancing, they avoid the large crowd, the symptomatic piece, so they'd be able to do that. So we have worked hand in hand with the health department, specifically myself as well, with Dr. Chapman. So before I go any further, I know that's a mouthful. Any questions that you might have?
The masking. So the student comes back day 11, must wear a mask. How long, or what, till when?
Through day 14.
14, okay, so that would be monitored by the teachers and,
It is, so teachers have a component, but teachers are not the responsible entity. The principals know exactly who these students are. We have a process in place starting at the district level with Mr. Gore to the schools, the school principal / Covet administrator. They know exactly who the students will be.
okay.
And the teacher has a role in that, but they're not the responsible person. So that's how that will work in terms of the masks.
Thank you.
All right. Moving on to giving you a half-cent sales tax update. Do want to share that through the resolution that we already put in place. As you know, we have established a citizens oversight committee, and in that resolution, it gives me the ability to name a chairperson for that committee. And giving you the update, the person that I've chosen is Michelle Ankers. So she would be the chairperson. The first initial meeting is going to be February 23rd at 4 o'clock. And the committee will establish meeting dates and times going forward. So Ms. Ankers will work with the committee to establish further dates. This is just a reminder, I know the board knows, but also just a reminder to those who may be watching that all of these meetings, records, and reports of the committee are open to the public. And one of the pieces, one of the main pieces that this group will function in is reviewing the expenditures and making sure, again, that we're spending the sales tax dollars on the projects that we stated that we would spend them on. And of course we will, but this is another measure to ensure that that occurs.
And
So
Mr.
that's-
Chambers, will those meetings be here?
They'll be, yes ma'am, they'll be here.
Thank you.
And I, if I'm not mistaken, just so the public knows, they're under the sunshine rules as well.
Yes, sir.
Yep.
Yes, sir. And just a little bit more information on the half cent, and I'm going to talk a little bit more about it in another topic in a second. But the projects that will be underway in the 2021 school year. Right now, as you know, all the safety projects, we've already brought that before the board. So our safety projects, single point of entry, perimeter fencing, and so forth, all of those should be done in the next 18 months, which is nice because that would not have happened if we didn't receive the half-cent sales tax, so we're blessed there. Also, our most critical roof replacements will occur during this time period. And then lastly, we plan to bring some pre-GMPs to the board at the next meeting for construction projects identified within the sales tax. So we'll have more information on that forthcoming.
Okay.
Any questions on the half-cent update? All right. I do want to let you know this Sunday in the paper there'll be an editorial in essence calling it State of the Okaloosa Schools. And there's going to be some information about our school district. And we'll also be sending it out to all OCSD, to our board members, and it'll also go out to business folks within the community. And some of what we will share in there will be a few things. One, just letting folks know this has been a tough year. This has been a challenging year, but also the resiliency of our teachers, staff, and our administrators in the district in terms of what has occurred. So just a little bit of information there. We'll give some COVID updates such as what we discussed today. We'll give a half-cent sales tax update and specifically laying out some of the plans of the 2021 school year, 2022 school year, understanding that there has to be board approval with all of those projects, but giving people kind of a a taste of what's to come. Also, letting folks know that we're a high-performing school district again, and we're one of 2 school districts over the last 11 years. I think Nassau County was the other one who's been designated as a high-performing school district. And sometimes we don't necessarily talk about the high-performing school district, and it gives the criteria in the editorial, in the information to parents of exactly how we get designated as a high-performing school district. Also gives some information on ESE, letting families know that we still have work to do on ESE, but also letting them know all the work that we have done in terms of professional development, the additional staff that we have placed that has student contact. So we feel good about that and continuing to work to get even better in ESE. And then lastly, giving an update in terms of CTE, career and technical education, and really sharing with folks that it's happening at the elementary level. And our goal is to take CTE from elementary all the way through high school to the workforce and connect with our local businesses and local industry. So that's a goal. And the overarching piece of all of this is also, what does the next generation of Okaloosa schools look like? And that's the piece that I'm excited about. I know you as a board, you're excited about that as well, and continue to do great things for our school district. So I wanted to give you just an update there. And as you know, the second semester has started. We've given the board the information about 88% of our students are back in school. 88% of students are in brick and mortar. As you know, we started with about 8,000 or so online, and that's down to approximately 3,000 students online now. And of course, the nice thing about that is parents still have a choice. They have a choice to be in My School Online, or they have a choice to be in brick and mortar. What schools will look like next year. I think there are districts, including us. Will there be a My School Online option next year? Will there be an Okaloosa Online option? Well, we know that will be there. But there are districts across the state, to include us, and I'm making sure that we would be prepared if this is an option. I will say Ms. Lightbourne and her team will be looking at Edgenuity, will be looking at Accelerate, the elementary program. And we know that just like other places in the state of Florida, across the nation, there are some bumps that occur in online learning, and we're learning from those online learnings. And if this was a model next year, we'll take what we've learned and make sure that we continue to improve with that online model. And the last thing I just want to do say is congratulating all of our teachers of the year, all of them, and especially this year of any year. It's a time to really celebrate and honor teachers. And then specifically also, Megan Mueller from Fort Walton Beach High School, who was a finalist, Joy Robertson from Blue Water, who was a finalist, and then of course Jessica Landry from Blue, who's our teacher of the year. And I was very proud to stand next to them. If you would have seen the smile on Jessica's face, it was absolutely genuine and just priceless. So it was nice to see. That's all I have.
I know her reaction was kind of like she just won, it was priceless. It really was. So it just made you feel good all over. So, and, what's exciting is, thank you to everybody who made it possible. I believe there's some things that you can't do virtually, and that's one of them. And so thank you to everybody who put it together, and we did it in a safe environment. And I know I had a lot of fun and enjoyed myself. So, and looking at everybody that was there, I think we all had a great time. So, so thank you to all those who put it together. Anything else, sir?
That is it.
All right. So we'll move down to board members' announcements and requests for information. And again, thank you, Mr. Chambers, for allowing us to move 15.1 up to go ahead and get that discussed at the beginning. So we'll start with board members' announcements and requests for information. And Dr. White, I am going to start with you today, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Bryant. You did that a couple of weeks ago, if I remember correctly. There are just a couple of things that I have some comments about. And first of all, I apologize for not being there today. Just so the board knows and the public knows, Connie and I are surviving the after effects of our second dose of the Madera vaccine. And board members and the public and superintendent, you will remember that a couple of weeks ago I had some inquiries about the budget and how things are looking coming from Tallahassee. And since that time, there has been some more information, and I forwarded to the board members and superintendent a recent article describing how, for lack of a better word, I'll say dismal, the budget looks for the upcoming 21-22 school year. In fact, the House Appropriations Committee indicated that they are projecting a $2.75 billion deficit for the 21-22 budget. And they went on to comment that even if Congress does do something in terms of relief, they don't know what it would be. And so they're talking about trying to make the cuts across the board, and specifically they mentioned education. In addition to that, Governor DeSantis has released his budget for education, and I took a look at it, and I'm sure the other board members and superintendent and staff have taken a look at it. And so, Superintendent, I was hoping, and with the indulgence of the chairman, that perhaps if we could have an expert look at the governor's budget, maybe Mrs. Scallon could kind of give us an update on what that looked like coming from the governor's office. Do you think we might could do something like that?
Yes, sir. I think we could have Rita come up and share what we know to date. And of course, we know that as we go forward, as the House and the Senate formulate their budgets, we know some things will change. But in terms of where we are right now, I think we can give I'm not sure to be a great update necessarily, but the information that we have at this time.
All right, and I, we need, or I certainly need, an expert like Mrs. Scallon to report on what the governor's budget looks like. And if I read it correctly, and I'm sure that I probably missed some things, but it looked like, and of course I can't see Ms. Scallon in real time, but it looked like that his budget might be providing, according to his charts, about $100 more per student. And I know that in the past, and board members that have been there for a while will remember that in the past, when we've received such charts, the real increase was nowhere approaching what it looked like we thought that we were going to receive. And then along those lines, my experience has been, and again, I defer to the expert knowledge of Mrs. Scallon, has been that about $200 per student keeps us even, if those are real $200 per student increases. So again, those are just my thoughts about the budget and my concerns about that. And I realize that you guys are doing all you can to get the information as it comes out. But I just thought that since the governor had released his budget, that we might be able to have some idea as to what they're talking about happening with us here in the school district, and what we might have to do as we are tasked by law with approving a school budget in light of the kind of dismal forecast, a $2.75 billion deficit. So that's all I have, Mr. Bryant, and thank you, Superintendent, if you guys are willing to do that.
So, Dr. White, at your request, Ms. Scallon is at the podium right now, and she's going to give us what she knows update. So.
And let me start off by saying,
well, that's great.
Dr. White, we appreciate when you get information that you pass that on to us, and just like all the other school board members and the superintendent. And we continue to monitor on a weekly and daily basis information that's being disseminated from the state, Florida School Boards Association, the Superintendent's Association, the Finance Council, and as you well know, Right now, it's preliminary, and it depends on what you're looking at, but let's start with the governor's budget. The governor's budget, if you read, it does indicate an increase. However, we do not have any detail runs of the governor's budget, so it's hard to assess what the impact will be to any particular school district and to dissect what is being proposed as the increase. You know, is it an increase in money we're receiving from the state? Is it an increase in local? Are things being shifted that were categorical? And when I say categorical, like the teacher salaries initiative that started last year, are we shifting that into the FEFP, which then, of course, looks like we're getting a larger BSA than we would be getting. So there's a lot of moving parts. And until I can see a detail run, it's hard for me to give you, like the governor, what he's proposing, how it will impact Okaloosa. But at the minute I get that, we will do that. And then, of course, there is the article from the House, and they're approaching it from the standpoint of not considering anything that they may be getting from the state for federal money, and to look at, based on the estimating conferences, and the last one was in December, that there would be a reduction, and then to see how much from each agency that they would reduce. So again, the House has not produced any kind of detail run, nor has the Senate. And the session starts March 2nd, I believe it is. So as soon as those runs start happening, we will, we'll be able to show impact to Okaloosa potentially. And then, as we all know, it'll actually be a combination of all those different forces as to the budget that we get. But I'm sure it's going to be a challenging year, just as it has been for the last 10 years. So we will adapt, and we will modify our budget to live within our means and to provide all of the services that we possibly can with the revenue that we're receiving. So I know that doesn't give you any detail, but that gives you an idea that we are on top of it and we are looking at it.
And I had no doubt about that, Mrs. Scallon. And I appreciate your expertise in looking at all those figures and numbers. But I heard what you said about those shifts that occur, and those in the past, I understand, have not always been an asset for us.
Correct. Does anybody have any questions?
Any other questions?
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Ms. Gallen. All right. Anything else, Dr. White?
No, sir, Mr. Chairman. That's all. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you again for all the information that you sent us, and it's very much appreciative. So, Dr. Kelly, I'll go to you next, ma'am.
I'll just have to have a follow-up to Dr. White's discussion and to Rita's presentation, that I think, Rita, hasn't it been close to 20 years that you've been here? And I can't think of a single time that we haven't been able to make our district run financially solvently, and I'm so grateful to you and your staff for having that happen for us. And I do recall, and Dr. White will recall this too, being principals, and I think it was the year 2008. That was one of the most devastating financial years that we lived through, if I recall that. And we were able to get by, not at the level that any of us would have liked, but we certainly made things run, and I believe we were still an A district that year as well. So thank you in advance for what I know that you and your team will do for us to keep us running well. And thank you personally, Rita, for all you've done in that time. So moving on, I just want to add my congratulations too to all of the Teacher of the Year candidates, and to Jessica Landry, who was from PLU. And I think that's the first time in about 9 or 10 years that PLU has had a candidate rise to that level. So I know they are doubly joyful this morning. So congratulations to Jessica and to all of our teachers who work so critically hard every day. And to my zone, Ruckle Rockettes and Coach Hallmark, their dance team won the state title in the jazz division. And of course we know that those progressive teams, as they get to the high school level, they keep it up. So the Niceville High School Eagleettes then earned the state title in small hip hop, second in jazz, and the best costume category. And then Ryan Paulson from Niceville High School is the first male lacrosse player to sign at a national letter of intent level. So congratulations there. And yesterday was signing day at all of our high schools, and it was also National Women in Sports Day. So I think that it's fitting then that we recognize the women who signed from our high school yesterday. So at Niceville, we had Ashlyn Fernandez, who signed soccer at Tulsa University. We had Emma Langston, softball at Bluefield University, and Hannah Forrester, swimming at Southern Virginia. So congratulations to all of these students and their coaches and their parents, because we know, and I remember too as a parent, sitting many, many nights and evenings at practice and at playoffs and driving them and being their staunchest cheerleaders. So congratulations to all of our area sports figures who signed off yesterday. That's all I have, Jeremy.
I think the lacrosse announcement's pretty huge, since
That's
that's a
pretty
fairly
big.
new program,
Yeah.
so.
I remember at Destin Middle having a parent come and say, we want to start a lacrosse team.
Yeah.
And I was like, what? What? You know, not familiar with lacrosse at all. So that was probably 2009 or 10, maybe.
I always say it's like hockey on grass and soccer
Hockey
all
and
mixed
soccer,
in.
yeah.
so-
And a little football maybe.
Little football in there
Yeah.
too, so, all right. Ms. Vanche.
Yeah, thank you. First of all, I want to say, Dr. White, thank you for always staying on a lot of information that you give to the board. You're excellent about that, and I appreciate that. I know the other board members do too, because you're very good at researching and that information, and that helps us get that information. So thank you, sir. Next, I want to talk about, this has been Counselor Week. And when you look at the job description of a guidance counselor, there's not enough paper for what these counselors do, and particularly in the last year or so with the COVID situation. But I just appreciate so much what those guidance counselors do for students. The challenge of having students coming into school, leaving school, coming back, and so forth, I can't imagine how they're managing to do that every day, along with doing that, testing, and of course, working with students to make sure that they're adjusting socially, emotionally. So please shout out to our counselors this week in all of our schools. Again, on the teachers, I think I mentioned last time, I was fortunate enough to be on that committee. All the teachers, those three that we got to see teach, it was just a thrill, an opportunity, and it's amazing. It was very difficult to have to name one person. All of them could have taken that title, and we would have been proud about that. The next thing I'm going to talk about is, of course, I'm a Baker Gator fan, and they keep rolling up there with some good things. First of all, signing day, Joe Brunson, big star of the team, signed yesterday with Reinhardt University in Waleska, Georgia. And so he'll be going there to continue his education and his athletic career. He has also been named the All Sports Association Scholastic Male Player of the Year. Wow. And that big thing is coming up later on in the month, so that's great. But then on top of that, yesterday I got a wonderful email from Principal Morello, another great award. Caleb Wagner, who Mr. Bryant, he can chime here in a minute on Mr. Wagner, he's been working with him, has been named the FHSAA Roger Deering Spirit of Sport Award winner. This is a state award. He's going to be now going into the national competition. Mr. Wagner is a three-sport athlete, and he is, of course, a member of the state championship team at Baker. And Mr. Wagner was born with only one hand. And others may find that as a handicap. If you ever meet Mr. Wagner or see him as an athlete, you'll see he has no handicaps. He can do it all. So he is a shooting guard for the basketball team. He's on track. as a football player this season as a sophomore. Rushed for 1,403 yards, 18 touchdowns this season as he helped lead them to that state championship. In addition, he does training using just his one hand. He benches 250 pounds, power cleans 285, and squats 480. Okay? Kind of feeling like you haven't accomplished much? Yeah. Me too. And so on top of that, besides his athletic accomplishments, he is in the Beta Club, Fellowship of Christian Athletes, the Hope Squad, Dr. Kelly. And this really touched me that I wasn't aware of. He mentors an elementary student here who lost his arm in an accident. So, I mean, this student is perfect for this award. I certainly hope that he gets it nationally because I think it's worth it. So, doing my fan wave to Mr. Wagner. I know you might want to add to that. You've been mentoring him, and also to Mr. Brunson. And once again, it's great to be a Gator.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Vancheck. Ms. Gardner.
We started the meeting off with Mr. Chambers talking about COVID, so I'll kind of finish up the meeting with it. Out talking to schools and talking to some individuals, the employees, thank you and your team for everything you're doing, your leadership, the knowledge that you provide. A question on the, and again, they appreciate that you are working with the other superintendents to encourage the governor to allow our teachers to maybe be next in line for the COVID shot. A recommendation was, again, watching how this is all rolling out right now, is that if the governor does allow the employees, teachers who would like to have a vaccine, if that is permitted, they're permitted next, that would it be possible that those vaccines are provided at the schools for those employees that want it? Again, they're watching how this is all taking place and the difficulty that people are having trying to, find a location. So if possible, could that happen as we've done flu shots before in the past? And again, thank you for you and Terry Schroeder. I think we receive daily those updates. Everybody's just done an amazing job, but that was just a suggestion that I did receive from several people. Also, again, attending the Teacher of the Year banquet. The Monday we have our Ed Support banquet. On Friday we have picked our top 3 individuals. We're excited that of those 3 individuals, on Monday night I'll be able to tell you who our winner. And then agreeing with Ms. Vancheck right there, this was difficult. I mean, in reading through this, I thought it was going to be, okay, there's going to be some, 1 or 2 to stand out, but all 50 individuals that submitted, I mean, we are very blessed in Okaloosa County for these individuals who keep our schools running and keep our schools clean and get our, driving our students back and forth. And sometimes these are our unsung heroes that are behind the scenes, but we are excited to recognize these very, very valuable employees. And Mr. Patrick, Mr. Strong has done, and his team have done an outstanding job pulling all this together, and we look forward to the breakfast tomorrow. And also, in closing, there's many things about this job that I do enjoy, but I think my favorite is getting out in the schools and seeing what's going on. I was out visiting on Monday, and I happened to stop by Silver Sands, and that is our center school in Fort Walton Beach High School for our students with different exceptionalities. They have a program, it's called School to Work, and it's our older students that are there that make these twisted pins. I'm going to do a little commercial here. They make these twisted pins, and they're $1 a piece. There is an array of colors, there's an array of shapes. I just grabbed the Valentine's Day ones, but they sell these for $1 a piece, and this is their fundraiser that they use to help participate, or to be a member of the Kiwanis Club. Also, the money they raise, they have community projects they like to give back to. Because of COVID, and we don't have as many individuals in our schools, people are not seeing these, they're not selling quite as many. But I grabbed the Valentine's Day ones. I'm going to pass those around. And Dr. White, I will get one to you that you can give to Connie. But there's, like I said, there's an array of shapes, colors, designs. I really especially liked the ones that they can put an imprint on. They can do one that says, you can always spot good character teachers if you have, awards that you want to give out, and the design is Dalmatian, spots on those. So again, just a very worthwhile fundraiser for these individuals at Silver Sands. You can go online and you can pick out and look at all the different designs and shapes, but I just had to do a shout out. I have purchased these before for friends, for little happies, just to pass along, $1 a piece. And I do have to shout out to Jessica Landry, the dinner Tuesday night, the Teacher of the Year. Jessica did her student teaching with me back at Destin Elementary. And just from back then, her as a student teacher, you could see what an exceptional person she is and what type of job. And of course, I quickly, before she even graduated, made her promise that she would work at Destin Elementary. So I'm so proud of all of the teachers, but again, I feel like a proud mama with Jessica Landry. So that's it.
All right. And I'll just finish up and thank you, Ms. Vanchek, for giving Caleb the big shout out he deserves. I will just add a couple of things to it. One of his stats that's very impressive that wasn't mentioned is how many yards he carries per carry, which was almost 9 yards a carry.
Wow.
So that's if you're a football fan, that's huge. So just hand him the ball, you're going to get 9 yards pretty much. So, but the other thing I would like to say is that a quick story about Caleb. Like Ms. Vanchek says, he only has one arm that he uses. In one of the playoff games, he was lined up as like a slot back, a receiver type deal. And I was just commenting to the person that was standing by me. I was like, wouldn't it be cool if they just throw him the ball? Because the other team obviously doesn't think he can catch it. And sure enough, they run that play, and they throw it to him. He's wide open because nobody's covering him. And he catches it and just scampers right on down for a touchdown. So, and he was also named another good thing about him this year was that he was named the MVP of the game for the state title game. So, and it's been an honor to sit with that young man. I've gotten to know him over the last year and a half. And this is why the Take Stock mentorship program is so valuable. There's so many wonderful students out there who are part of this program, and I just, was very fortunate enough to get Caleb the last year, and it's been just a great partnership. Our goal is for him to be a scholar athlete, not just an athlete, a scholar athlete, and he really tries hard in school to get good grades. He has a 3.5 grade average, I believe it is. So, it's just awesome to be able to be a part of his life and to see all the accolades he's getting just in the 10th grade. And, that award that he got from the FHSAA, say that 1,000 times, but he also got a $1,500 scholarship to go with that too, so that's huge. On another note, I was invited the other day by our athletic director from Fort Walton Beach High School, Miss Holly McDaniel, one of our trailblazers out in our school system right now, and she just invited me to come by because she just wanted to show off what was going on athletically at Fort Walton Beach High School. I will just tell you that it's awesome to see somebody like Miss McDaniel in her position, something that wouldn't have happened just a couple of years ago, and just to see the excitement level and what she's bringing to the table at Fort Walton Beach athletics. So it was really nice to be able to see a lot of the venues that I have not had an opportunity to see. So it was just a great experience to go visit her and see her and her job, and she's really enjoying it. I know she misses the coaching part, I can tell that, but be able to oversee all of the sports, I think, I know she's really enjoying that. All right, so we'll move on down to section 16, public comment, and this is the 2-minute version of public comment. And we do have a public hearing on Monday night. Public hearing for the adoption of amended fiscal year 2020 through 2021 notice of tax for school capital outlay. And we'll go around the room. Ms. Scallon, anything? Dr. Hale? Mr. Strong? Ms. Appleberg? Thank you for coming up.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
I just wanted to be able to say thank you to everybody that worked on the toy banquet. Just like many of you have talked about, it's one of those things that a lot has been taken away because of COVID, and there's no way to do something like that just virtual. These teachers, they deserve to have been, acknowledged and things like that. We did work very well trying to make sure that all the COVID regulations were there. We made the social distancing, masks, everything. I think it went rather well. I think that nobody really felt uncomfortable in that sense. We all kept our distance. I'd like to thank the facility itself, the Everett Coast Conference Center, because they did a phenomenal job making sure everything was sanitized, making sure that everything was as clean as possible for us. I also want to thank Angelique Cox and Rosemary Morris for working so hard at putting this together and helping it run smoothly while I was up on stage. Thank you to Stephanie Hicks, who also helps Angelique Cox. Unfortunately, she was unable to be there that night. I also want to thank Debbie Tate and Cindy Gates, because without them, we would not have had those amazing swag bags. I know that they do an amazing job. I'm kind of jealous of some of the things that were in those swag bags. I kind of wish I could have gotten one. And I also want to thank Paul McNeely and Eric Mitchell for that live stream. I've received, as soon as we ended, I looked at my phone and received multiple emails talking about how nice it was to be able to still watch, even though we had to keep it to a small number of people there. It went smoothly without any kind of issues when it comes to the live stream, and they said it was just like being there. They didn't feel like they missed out on anything except for the amazing food. So that was definitely appreciated. I know that might be something that we might think about, for years to come, but it worked out very well, and we would not have been able to do it all without the help of them. So thank you very much, guys.
Thank you, Ms. Applebird.
Nice job.
Ms. Lightbourne. Mr. Horton. All right, this meeting's adjourned.